What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Off the Schneid. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Atlanta Falcons, talking about their draft needs heading into the 2021 NFL Draft post-free agency. This team is the wild card of the draft, in my opinion. I think more or less the draft starts at 4. I think the top 3 will be quarterbacks. It's just a matter of who they are. We'll see. Personally, for me, I do not think the Atlanta Falcons select a quarterback. I do not. Regardless of who's there, whatever you want to do, I do not think that they select a quarterback. Matt Ryan is going to be the starter this year. No questions asked. Absolutely. Next year, they can save money. They can save money. There is an out on the contract, but you're just not going to pay a guy 40, maybe not. I don't know if he's getting all that money, obviously, but you're not going to pay $40.5 million for a guy to not play for you. That's what the dead cap money would be for Matt Ryan next year. $40.525 million. You're just not going to eat that. It's just not going to happen. So for me, Matt Ryan is the starter for the next 2 years, period. Now, you could say, draft, a guy like Trey Lance and he sits for 2 years. Yeah, okay, but do you really want to do that with the availability of what's out there right now? Do you not want to take a shot, one last kick at the can with Matty Ice? That's just my opinion. And I think you do that instead of trying to think about quarterback of the future. If you're just as bad as you were this year, then, go ahead and take your quarterback next year who can sit a full season. That's how I attack this. So for me, who do I look at them to draft at 4? There's two people, basically 2 players, period, in my opinion, that they're going to go after. Number 1, Penei Sewell. Number 2, Kyle Pitts. Those are the 2 guys that I look at. I mean, maybe they like Rashawn Slater or something better. I don't know. But those are the 2 kind of positions, whatever you want to call it. Pitts, left tackle, Sewell, Slater, whatever. That's what I see. So Matty Ice took 41 sacks last year. That's not counting in quarterback hits. He cannot be taking that kind of punishment at his age. They have used a fair amount of capital on the offensive line, but has it really worked out? Not quite, So for me, I either protect Matt Ryan, juice up that offensive line a little bit, or get an absolute weapon like Kyle Pitts. That's what I do. There's still a huge hole at running back. Mike Davis comes in. He's quality. He can be a rotational, complementary back type of guy, but he's not going to be a bell cow. Ito Smith just hasn't quite gotten there. I actually did like Ito Smith quite a bit at one point, but he's kind of faded, and I just don't think he's going to be that guy. And that's pretty much all they got. I think they're absolutely going to have to address running back, whether that's in the 2nd or 3rd round, but a fairly high draft pick on running back, depending on who's there. And then that offensive line is still going to need addressing, whether you take Pitts or Sewell or quarterback, whatever you do, whatever you pick at 4, unless it's an offensive lineman, you're going to have to address the offensive line. So it's an interesting spot. And again, like I just said, I think that's where the draft starts, is at 4 with the Falcons. I think everybody knows it's just a matter of who they're going to be, but quarterback, and then we'll see. 4 5 are interesting between the Falcons and the Bengals. And I think Kyle Pitts is one of those picks, in my opinion, and I sincerely hope it's my Bengals, but I digress. So, they still have a good offense. Russell Gage can play. Calvin Ridley's obviously very good. Julio Jones, one of the best to ever play the game. So they absolutely still have weapons. They're going to have to add another one, a wide receiver, if they take Pitts. Again, this is where this draft can go so many different ways for not only, the Falcons, but for everybody below them, sort of a thing. If they take Pitts, wide receiver becomes less of a need. If they take an offensive lineman, they're absolutely going to have to address wide receiver and running back. So there's lots of holes. They're not like one player away. And to me, you don't take your quarterback of the future right now. You just don't. You just don't. Not at 4 when the top 3 picks are probably going to be quarterbacks. I think you wait. I think you can wait another year or, whatever. A name that I've floated out there for a lot of teams that are in need of a young quarterback is Gardner Minshew. I think Gardner Minshew would be a great fit here. He might have to sit for a couple years. He's 24 years old. He comes in at 26, and if anything should happen to Matt Ryan, you got a capable backup. Matt Schaub is, I'm not even sure how old he is, but he's late 30s for sure, and you're going to need to add a backup. You might as well bring in a young guy who should be cheap value-wise. I feel like you could probably trade one of those fifth-round picks for Gardner Minshew. It doesn't seem like he's going to be on the Jags this year. So that's a name I've floated out there, and I think it would be a really good fit right here. There's lots of teams that I think he'd be a great fit with, but I think this one might be one of the best. So we'll leave it at that. There's a lot to chew on there for the offense for the Falcons, and I think they're an absolute wild card at 4, and that's where the draft could go any different way. It can get really crazy at 4. Maybe they do even take a quarterback. I think that's a terrible, terrible move, and I would absolutely not do it, but they might. A lot of mock drafts have them taking one. But we'll see. I digress. I'll leave it at that for the offense. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, we got a new coaching staff. Arthur Smith comes over from the Titans. Dean Pease comes out of retirement to be the defensive coordinator for this team. It's hard to say if they're going to run a 4-3-3-4. When asked that question, Dean Pease said yes. So he's gonna give a lot of different looks. He always did with the Patriots, the Ravens, even the Titans. Like, you give a lot of different looks on defense. He likes to blitz from all angles, and I think he's got some good pieces for more of a 3-4 type of a defense. That's kind of what the Falcons have been running, like a Tampa 2-3-4 variant type of a defense. And I think they probably will, for the most part, stick with that narrative. They do have a bunch of pieces that I do really like. We'll start on the back end. AJ Terrell, Isaiah Oliver, Fabian Moreau. I like all those guys. Kendall Sheffield might be a guy. So their corners are in a decent position thanks to drafting. And bringing in Fabian Moreau, I should say. They brought him in from Washington. I really like the drafting of Jalen Hawkins last year and Michael Walker. I think those two guys will play roles on this defense, fairly prominent roles. I don't think that that's a need. I think Jalen Hawkins can be one of those safety positions. Eric Harris can be a depth guy, rotational, and in a pinch, I guess he could be your starter. But I think that they look to address safety, a lot of draft capital. I think they bring in one or two guys to kind of compete and see who the best guy is. I really, really, really like their linebackers. Like I said, Michael Walker is a depth guy, but Deion Jones is maybe the best, but he's very, very good as kind of a coverage linebacker. Plus, he led this team in sacks last year. So again, Dean Pease, if you're looking to blitz from a lot of different angles, Jones is going to be one of those guys. I really, really, really like Olukun as well. I think he's a fantastic player. And then Brandon Copeland moves into more of an outside linebacker in a 3-4 defense, kind of a role, in my opinion. And then you got Dante Fowler, Barkevius Mingo, who played that position as well. And then as far as 3-4 line is concerned, you got Grady Jarrett, who's one of the best, in my opinion, and it's one of the most underrated interior linemen in the game. Tyler Davison and Marlon Davidson, I think round out that defensive line, but they're going to have to add more pieces there. Absolutely. They're going to need someone to get back after the quarterback with frequency. Last time that the Falcons had a double-digit sack guy, they went to the Super Bowl in 2016, and that was Vic Beasley's kind of outlier season where he had 15 and a half sacks. But even if they just need... The big thing with the Falcons, they need to get after the opponent's quarterback and protect their own. That's a huge, huge thing for the Falcons this season. 41 sacks, not counting quarterback hits on Matt Ryan, cannot happen again. You need to get after the quarterback with more frequency, absolutely. It should be an interesting season, an interesting team for the Falcons this year. They have tons of pieces to be a quality team again. It's just a matter of if they can kind of get there. Hayden Hurst, I didn't mention at the tight end position. If they had him and Kyle Pitts, that's deadly. That would be very dangerous. But again, if Matt Ryan can't get the ball off, then what's it going to do? So It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. Keep an eye out for my mock draft coming out in about a couple weeks. We're gonna, we'll see what I settle on for the Falcons. I'll tell you right now, I'm probably leaning towards the offensive line, but check out the mock draft in a couple of weeks. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button on your way out, and we'll see you on the next video.